we're just going to walk through and do a high-level overview of the Vibe application as provided by cfactor. What you'll be seeing initially here, and how I'm going to kind of structure this, is to move through it from a life cycle approach. So I'll be starting with the applicant tracking and sourcing functionalities, and then I'll move through onboarding, employee self-service, manager self-service, some of the more complex functions that exist in the application, and maybe even touch on talent a little bit as I move through. The first thing that we're looking at here is a cfactor, or an actual cfactor career site. So the Vibe platform would deliver to you a career site that would launch off of your commercial website. So they would click through, candidates would click through on a link that says careers or whatever you'd really like it to say, and it would bring them into this area of our application. Now this is really branded, configured for cfactor as an organization. We use a lot of green and blues, but in this case it would be configured to match the design considerations on your corporate website. I'm very quickly just going to sign in as a profile I've already created. Signing in or signing up is really the same process. It's incredibly simple. And a lot of your candidates aren't going to just come in and create a profile right off the bat. So we've embedded this capability in a couple of critical kind of actions. So when someone goes to apply for a job or something like that, or manage their profile, they'll be prompted to create an actual account on the application. But I can click through here and start to search open positions. I could do that with or without creating a profile. Some things that I can do with a profile are like set up preferences for myself as a candidate, so I can submit my email or phone number and carrier, and I'd be made aware by email or text of any positions that became available that met my my preferences here. You can also look at like an application history, search for jobs in different ways. Right now I'm just kind of viewing all the open positions. So let's say as a candidate I'm interested in this enterprise architect position. I open it up. I get some posting details here that I can review, as well as like a job summary, any sort of required qualifications that are attached to the position. After reviewing this, I can decide it's a good fit and I want to apply, and I can go through and apply online. Since I'm already signed in, it's just going to bring me into the application. But that would be one of those events that would prompt someone to create a profile. Very simple, just username and password. So you see here we have the position name, a little cheat to get back to the posting itself if you have if you want to read the job summary again or something like that. The required qualifications are really clearly outlined here, and then you have the ability to upload your resume. Upon uploading your resume, a couple things can be pulled off and populated into this talent profile, as well as you can populate this talent profile with a LinkedIn account or something like that. So you notice the resume is hosted here as part of the talent profile. Things like work experience and education can be pulled off just doing a keyword search. And then we've got courses and training, licenses and certifications, skills, languages, all those types of things. As I mentioned before, you can synchronize this with LinkedIn, so I can just hit that synchronize button. It will ask me to authenticate, and then once I determine I want to allow access from this application into my LinkedIn profile, I can pull all of that data directly into my talent profile. And this stays with the candidate, whether they're successful or unsuccessful in their application process. So you can go in and data mine out of those resumes, which become indexed and searchable, or those talent profiles when you have an open position that you're maybe not getting a lot of applicants for, or that you know there's a critical kind of skill set for that position. So once someone has actually applied for a position successfully, they would be moved into a selection process. And so I'm logging in as kind of a different user here. This is someone who I'll use throughout the demonstration. She has a broad range of access to the application, but one of the things that she's responsible for is actually making the hiring decision into a couple of positions. So this is the workflow console. This is really the clearinghouse for all the types of transactions that move through the application. And one of the things waiting for Jessica here is this job posting selection worksheet, and it's for this position of Director of Curriculum. So when I open this up, I'm going to see all the applicants that I have. I believe I've got 6 applicants on this worksheet, 3 of them internal to the organization, because the job boards do function for internal or existing employees as well, and 3 of them are external. And through here I can see the applicants. I have access to their application and resume. I can manage my status for them here too, so this person's withdrawn, this person declined to interview, I was unable to contact this person, I spoke with this person, they were not qualified, and these last two were interviewed, and I'm actually going to select them as finalists for the position. Now this worksheet could be part of a workflow, so when you make your two selections here, say you're a recruiter, you want to pass it on to a hiring manager, you could select the hiring manager you want to pass it on to and pass on these two recruits. If you're more of the final decision maker on the hiring decision itself, you could come in and just select if you're looking for one candidate, you could select the one you'd like to hire and submit this, and it would kick off the offer letter process. A lot of functionality inside this worksheet itself. You notice when I select someone as a finalist, it opens up a kind of variable data column that is initial rate of pay. So we can build into those offer letters variable data elements that are outside the template, right? So things that may be negotiated on, so salary, vacation schedules, something like that, commission plans, we can capture and build into those offer letters that will eventually be e-signed for acceptance. It's also a scheduling tool, so you can come in here and add events. So you can say, I want to schedule an interview with this person. I'm the interviewer, or you can set up another interviewer on this date, this time, those types of things. And you can submit this, and it will generate calendar invites internally and templated emails externally. But this really does facilitate the entire selection process from start to finish. We see varying selection processes, so the actual configuration of the workflow would be tailored to your requirements. So if if your positions have a three-step interview process where recruiters do a screening interview, hiring managers is doing an interview, and then HR is doing a final interview, and maybe you guys are collaborating to make a decision. Or for a lot of our clients, candidates are passed directly to hiring managers, so that's a simpler workflow. But it's important that we have that flexibility and we can kind of configure around your requirements. Basically what happens as a result of kind of the administration of this is you have an area where you can come in and you can actually do recruitment activities. So there's the ability to come in and create a job posting, reissue a job posting, cancel a job posting. These are application kind of reports where you can go in and do an application explorer. You can search for keywords on applications or resumes. You could launch an individual's application as well. There's also a report called a Posting Explorer where you can come in and just run a report off some pretty simple parameters. Like I'm just going to set a date range of February 2010 to today, which would be February 18th, 2015, and submit this. And what you'll see is all the postings that exist, their status, any successful applicants, other details that may be critical. And then you can view the posting, you can close it, you can extend it through here. You also have the ability to view the selection worksheet here as well. And then basically once someone has accepted an offer, this would kick off the initial phase of the onboarding process, which we call pre-boarding. So prior to their first day, they have access to a set of resources that's really specifically tailored for them. Tailored for them as a pre-hire, as well as tailored to them in the role that they're going to be filling. So there's a lot that we can accomplish here. You see we're introducing the leadership of our organization. Carrie and Rod are two brothers that founded cfactor. We also have some client examples, like this is from Starbucks. This is their president and CEO, Howard Schultz. He walks out on the screen the first time someone logs on and explains how excited he is and some of the core values of Starbucks and delivers a really engaging, impactful message. So different ways of using rich media to kind of get people engaged with the application. And you can see here we also want to do some things like learn about the company, what's happening in the organization. Now these left two columns might be resources that are extensible across your entire population. These right two columns are very much role-based in this example. So the person's being hired into a manager role, and we're also representing to this person the type of investment that's made in a manager inside the organization. So you can get resources to help you prepare for your first day. You can learn more about the benefits options that you'll have. We're introducing this in a really social way. So Julian Scott here is introducing and talking about where he finds value in the program, where he sees new hires might find value. And then you're able to click through and learn more about the benefit options that you have and different coverage levels you have as an employee of the organization. Now, this is a programmed communication. Inside the Vibe platform, there is a rich set of content management capabilities, and you would have full control over this. And you could go in and make changes as necessary, but describe your carriers and coverage levels and embed resource documents and things like that. So lastly, as part of pre-boarding, what we want to do is really set up expectations. We want to drive people to activities that will ultimately make them productive quicker. And we want to connect them. And we do that through social tools, through org charts, through introduction to mentors and things like this in this example. As far as pre-boarding activities, this is very configurable. You could host all your paperwork here, your new hire self-service. And basically what would happen is they'd be done with it prior to their first day. A lot of our clients are doing that. Other clients are having people do, things like complete their profile and look at the benefits pages and things like that. As far as setting up expectations, you want to, make this role-based as well, so it might be based off work location or something like that. But what we have here is just a kind of preparing for first day. You have access to Ask HR, which is a way of your organization providing service to your employees. So this would connect to responders inside your organization, and people could ask questions real time. There's a complex set of rules that kind of enforces Ask HR and how it works. But basically, if someone's not available, it'll generate an email. If it's outside business hours, it'll generate an email. So those types of things are all capable. So thinking about kind of the day one and beyond experience, I'm going to use this profile or this user to kind of do the rest of the demonstration. You see this is the landing page, and so there's quick links and access to personal info. We're highlighting employees, news feeds, things like that. So the landing page is very much a splash page. It's designed to kind of engage employees, and it's quite configurable as well. As far as kind of the onboarding experience, this onboarding hub would be available to new hires for a predetermined amount of time. And in our instance, it's 90 days. But what we're doing is like introducing the president and CEO. You can see here we've got an onboarding experience that will take someone through what their first 30 days will be like. I'm going to come back to this. We want to really kind of connect them in the organization. So we're showing them who their leaders are, who their direct team members are, some resources that are local to them. So using hierarchy and role-based information to kind of drive this experience for new hires. You can see here we have a full social platform as well inside the application, and so some of our communities and recent contributions to them, as well as we can stream in contributions from external social sites, in this case Twitter. We also support LinkedIn or Facebook. As far as the onboarding experience, you can see here we're driving someone to do their profile, enroll in their benefits, do their new hire self-service or new hire registration. Organizations always call this something slightly different. But you'll notice that this is kind of just a checklist for the employee. The first couple steps are all just document acknowledgments. So there's policy level documents that the person needs to come in and acknowledge. And then the rest of it is really focused around kind of this transactional side. So give me your name and personal data. Give me your address, your emergency contacts, self-identify. We do I-9s as well with integration to E-Verify, full tax profiles, and we do collect banking information for direct deposit as well. So for new hires, when they show up on day 30, there'll be a different set of resources, related resources for them, as well as day 60 through 90. And then day 90 and beyond, they'll really just be using some of the other tools that exist in the system. So they'll be accessing things through like the self-service hub. And so this is an area for employees to come, get access to their pay statement, do online time entry, update any personal information or payroll-related information as well. So you'll see here we can get pay statements online. We can generate letters of employment, too, that will verify tenure, year-to-date earnings, salary, previous year earnings, all those types of things. Tax documents online as well. We can process vacation requests, leave of absence requests. You can update banking, tax profiles, or deduction management, or voluntary deductions through here. But you can also see that we've got the ability to update personal information, and then they can also manage like family independence. So this is what would kick off a qualified life event, an enrollment for that. So if you add a daughter or a spouse or something like that, you can also just view benefits from here. Access to talent information, so you can view your performance plan that's in place, any sort of development plan that's also in place for you. And then you can update any attribute of your talent profile through here as well. Licenses and certifications, courses or training that you may be doing, language skills that you may be enhancing. So all those types of things can be tracked through the system and then, of course, reported on as well. And then lastly, I want to just touch on kind of the manager side of things. And so a manager inside the solution would have a specific role for manager access, and it gives you access to the employees that report to you. So you can see here Jessica has two employees reporting to her, Rick and Rania. She has the ability to click on either of them and open up what we call an employee management center. And you'll notice this is kind of set up like a file because this is exactly what it is. You have access to employee file information as well as MSS transactions. So, for instance, you could come in and look at an employment profile, and this will bring back all the current employment information as well as all the historic employment information. And so what you see here is employee ID number, length of service, their current salary and employment information, and then all of their historic employment information as well. But this is the same place where I'd be coming in to do terminations, pay changes, promotions, transfers, all those types of traditional MSS transactions. So when I click on termination, it runs a kind of mini report for me that will give me some data that may help me through the transaction. And then I can just move through. So as a manager, I can say, okay, they're leaving the 20th. Oops, it's also their last day worked is the 20th. It's going to make me reselect it. So their last day worked is also the 20th. Let's say it's a voluntary termination, and so I get supported by all these voluntary reason codes. Let's say it's an early retirement. They did give appropriate notice, so they are eligible for rehire, and no, they're not eligible for severance. We're prompting the manager for a forwarding address so they can get the correct one on file to get them COBRA information and tax documents and things like that. If the position is going to be backfilled, we'll just say the duties aren't changing for time's sake, but if the position is going to be backfilled when this goes into effect, recruitment can be made aware that there's a vacancy and that there needs to be a posting created and things like that. So it can really reduce your time to fill taking this type of approach. And then let's say Rick had some people reporting to him. Well, what's going to happen to those direct reports? Well, you can select yourself or someone else to be responsible for them by proxy until that vacant position is filled, and then submit this, and it would route out for approval. And so once again, the workflow console comes into play. Any transaction that you're responsible for engaging with is going to kind of manifest itself here. And you can see one of the things that I'm responsible for either approving or rejecting is a termination. So this is kind of that approving manager view inside the application. That workflow console I use is a little cluttered because I do a lot of things for demonstrations in there, but typically they're quite clean in a live client environment because they can be integrated to send out email notifications as well. You can see all the details of the transaction. That mini report comes over too, so this approver isn't running around trying to see the details of that employee. You can view the task history through here, so who's approved it on its way up to you. So you can see Julian submitted this, and now I'm responsible for either approving or rejecting it with my comments. And if you're the final step in that process, once you approve it, it goes into effect. So some of the other things we see here are access to actions, so you can come in and just take action as well, like promo transfer, as well as access to reports and things like that. So you can run some basic reports as a manager. Of course, the security model would be applied so that you can only run reports over your direct span of control, whereas a super user who has access to something like an HR hub would really have a different kind of security role and might be able to come in and do data mining over the entire organization or something like that. So the security model is quite extensive and scalable. You can see this is like an ad hoc report where I could come in and choose any file field to include or restrict off of in a report, as well as I have access to like Explorer reports, position control, a lot of the compliance and utilization reports as well as an administrator. So I know the point of today's call was to get you a quick high-level overview of some of the functionality. We'd be happy to follow up with a more in-depth demo, and I hope this is a effective resource for you. Thanks a lot and have a great day.